The great hall of the Veloran Palace was filled with ships from across the galaxy. They came from distant stars, carrying princes and lords and warriors who wanted to marry Princess Lyra. This was the selection ceremony, a tradition older than the empire itself. Every young royal had to find a partner from the stars. It was how alliances were made. It was how peace was kept. Emperor Valos stood on his throne platform and watched the ships land one after another. His daughter stood beside him, dressed in silver robes that covered her from neck to toe. She did not smile. She had not smiled in a long time. Lyra was 23 years old by Earth counting, though she looked much younger. Her face was pale blue, like all Velorans, and her eyes were large and dark. She was beautiful by any standard, but she carried a secret that made her feel ugly every single day. The first suitors arrived from the Keth Dominion. They were tall creatures with 4 arms and hard skin like armor. Their leader walked forward and bowed to the emperor. "We bring gifts from the Keth Dominion," he said. "Our prince wishes to examine the princess before making his decision." Emperor Valos nodded slowly. This was normal. This was tradition. But he saw his daughter's hand shake slightly under her long sleeves. They took Lyra to a private room. The Keth doctors scanned her body with their machines. They checked her blood. They checked her bones. They checked everything. And then they found it. "What is this?" the Keth doctor asked. He pointed at his screen. "There is something wrong with her cells. They produce light." Lyra closed her eyes. Here it comes, she thought. "Show us," the Keth prince demanded. A servant dimmed the lights in the room, and slowly, softly, Lyra's skin began to glow. Blue patterns appeared on her arms and face, like rivers of light running under her skin. They moved and shifted like living things. The Keth prince stepped back, his face twisted with disgust. "She is defective," he said. "This is a genetic disease. Our children would be cursed." He turned and walked out of the room without another word. Lyra stood alone in the darkness, her skin still glowing. A single tear ran down her cheek and caught the light. The next day, suitors came from the Shar Collective. They were a species of connected minds, always thinking together. They valued perfection above all else. They did not even wait for the private examination. Somehow, they already knew. "The Keth have told everyone," their ambassador said to Emperor Valos. "Your daughter carries a mutation. We cannot allow such imperfection into our genetic pool." Emperor Valos gripped the arms of his throne. "It is not a disease. It is simply different. She is healthy. She is strong." "Different is dangerous," the ambassador replied. "We will not take her." They left before sunset. More suitors came over the following weeks. The Moth Empire sent their youngest prince. He laughed when he saw her glow and called her a carnival attraction. The Void Walkers said her light would disturb their meditation. The Iron Clans said she was too weak for their warrior culture. Each rejection cut Lyra deeper than the last. She stopped eating properly. She stopped leaving her room. She stopped looking in mirrors because she could not stand to see the soft glow that appeared on her skin whenever she felt emotional. One night, Emperor Valos came to her room. He found her sitting by the window, staring at the stars. "My child," he said softly. "Do not call me that," Lyra whispered. "I am not a child, I am a burden." "You are not a burden, you are my daughter." Lyra turned to look at him. Her skin was glowing faintly, blue light tracing the lines of her sadness. "Then why can no one love me?" she asked. "Why does everyone see me and run away? What is so wrong with me, father?" Emperor Valos had no answer. He was a powerful man. He ruled over billions of lives. But he could not make anyone love his daughter. He could not fix what the galaxy saw as broken. "The ceremony is not over," he said. "There are more suitors coming." "Let them come," Lyra said. She turned back to the window. "Let them see the glowing freak and run away like all the others. I do not care anymore." Word spread across the galaxy. In taverns and trading posts, on space stations and colony worlds, people talked about the Veloran princess. They called her the Cursed Light. They called her the Reject. They made jokes about her at dinner tables and laughed. The story reached every corner of known space. It reached a small human cargo ship called the Dawn Runner. Kang Tiho was sitting in the cockpit when his sister Hana came in with a news tablet. "Look at this," she said. "Some alien princess is being rejected by everyone because she glows in the dark." Tiho took the tablet and read the article. He saw the picture of Princess Lyra. He saw her sad eyes and her covered skin. "Why is glowing bad?" he asked. Hana shrugged. "Aliens are weird. They think it is a disease or something." Tiho looked at the picture for a long moment. He thought about the fireflies he used to catch as a child on Earth. He thought about the glowing waves on the beaches of Jeju Island. He thought about how humans had always loved things that shone in the darkness. "That is stupid," he said. "Yes, it is," Hana agreed. "But it is not our problem. We have a delivery to make." She was right. They were just cargo runners. They carried medicine and food and machine parts between planets. They had nothing to do with alien princesses and royal ceremonies. Tiho gave the tablet back to his sister and focused on flying the ship. But that night, lying in his small bed, he could not stop thinking about those sad eyes. He could not stop thinking about a girl who was told she was broken just because she carried light inside her. He did not know it yet, but his path was about to change forever. Back on Velora, Lyra lay in her bed and made a decision. If no one in the galaxy wanted her, she would want no one. She would refuse all remaining suitors. She would live alone in her tower, a princess without a partner, until the day she died. It was better than being examined like an animal and rejected like trash. It was better than hopping. She had forgotten that sometimes hope comes from the most unexpected places. The Dawn Runner landed on Velora 3 weeks after the last suitor left the palace. Tiho had almost forgotten about the glowing princess. He had deliveries to make and credits to earn. Life went on. Velora was a beautiful planet. The cities were made of white stone and silver metal. The sky was purple during the day and deep blue at night. Millions of people walked through the streets, most of them Velorans with their pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Tiho and Hana unloaded their cargo at the main spaceport, medical supplies for the central hospital. It was a simple job, nothing special. "I am going to find a place to eat," Hana said. "You coming?" Later, Tiho replied, "I want to walk around first." He wandered through the market district alone. Everything was strange and wonderful. Alien fruits he had never seen. Clothes made from materials that did not exist on Earth. Music that sounded like nothing human ears were meant to hear. Tiho found a small tavern near the edge of the market. It was dark inside and filled with different species drinking strange liquids. He sat at the bar and ordered something that the bartender promised would not kill him. 2 merchants were talking loudly at a nearby table. They were Keth, with their 4 arms and hard skin. Tiho could not help but listen. "Did you hear? The Veloran princess is still unmarried," one of them said. "No one wants the glowing freak." The other one laughed. "Of course not. Who would breed with a defective creature like that? The Emperor is desperate. He is offering double the alliance rewards now." "It does not matter. You cannot pay people to accept damaged goods." They both laughed again. Tiho felt something hot rise in his chest. He did not know why. He had no connection to this princess, but something about their words made him angry. He stood up and walked to their table. "What is wrong with glowing?" he asked. The Keth merchants looked at him like he was an insect. One of them leaned forward and studied his face. "You are human," he said. "A young species. You do not understand these things." "Then explain it to me." The merchant sighed like he was talking to a child. "In the galaxy, genetics are everything. A mutation like her shows weakness. Her children would carry the same defect. Her bloodline is contaminated. No respectable species would mix with such impurity. On my planet, Tiho said slowly, we have creatures that glow, fish in the deep ocean, insects in the forests. We think they are beautiful. Both merchants stared at him. Then they burst out laughing. Humans, one of them said, you find beauty in disease. This is why your species will never be important in the galaxy. You do not understand proper order. Tiho wanted to say more, but he knew it was pointless. He returned to his seat and finished his drink in silence. But his mind would not stop working. That night he asked around about how things worked on Velora. He learned about the selection ceremony. He learned about the alliance system. He learned that technically any species could submit a request to meet the princess. Any species, including humans. He found a human diplomat named Nuri in the embassy district. She was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had lived on Velora for 15 years. You want to do what? She asked when Tiho explained his idea. I want to meet the princess, not the emperor, just her. Nuri shook her head. That is not how it works. Suitors meet the emperor first. There are protocols, ceremonies. You cannot just walk up and ask to see her. Why not? Because you are human. We are nobody in the galaxy. The Veloran Empire has 100 species begging for alliances. They do not need us. Tiho sat down across from her desk. I do not want an alliance. I just want to meet her. Nuri studied him carefully. Why? What is your interest in this girl? Tiho thought about the question. He did not have a good answer. He just knew that something felt wrong. A young woman was being treated like garbage because she was different. Everyone in the galaxy had decided she was worthless. No one had asked her what she thought. Everyone is looking at her like she is broken, he said finally. Maybe someone should look at her like she is not. Nuri was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed softly. You humans, she said, always trying to fix things that are not your problem. Is that a bad thing? No, it is just very human. She opened a drawer and pulled out some papers. I will send a formal request, but I am warning you, they will probably reject it. The Emperor has no reason to waste time with a human cargo pilot. Just send it, Tiho said. Let them decide. 3 days passed. Tiho helped Hana with repairs on the ship. He walked through the markets again. He tried not to think about the princess. Then Nuri called him. They accepted, she said. Her voice was full of surprise. The princess herself accepted your request. She wants to meet you. Tiho felt his heart beat faster. When? Tomorrow night, in the royal garden, just you and her. No emperor, no advisors, no ceremony. Why did she say yes? Nuri paused. She said no one has ever asked to meet her instead of her father. She was curious. Tiho smiled. Curious was good. Curious meant there was still something alive inside her. Hana was not happy when he told her the news. You are going to meet an alien princess, she said. Are you crazy? We are cargo runners. We do not belong in palaces. I am just going to talk to her. Talk to her about what? Tiho shrugged. I do not know yet. Hana grabbed his arm. Listen to me. Those aliens rejected her because of some light thing. They are powerful species with armies and fleets. If you get involved with this, you are going to make enemies. Maybe she needs someone who is willing to make enemies for her. Hana let go of his arm. She looked at him for a long time. You always were too kind for your own good, she said quietly. Ever since we were children, you always tried to help the ones everyone else ignored. Is that wrong? No, it is just dangerous. She turned and walked back to the ship, but before she disappeared inside, she called back to him. Good luck tomorrow. Try not to start a galactic war. Tiho laughed, but deep inside he was nervous. Tomorrow he would meet a princess that the entire galaxy had rejected. He would look at her glowing skin and try to see what no one else could see. He would try to see a person instead of a problem. He did not know if he would succeed. He did not know what would happen next, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was doing something that mattered. The stars shone bright over Velora that night. Somewhere in the palace, a princess was waiting for a human she had never met. And somewhere in the city, a human was hopping he could make her smile. The royal garden was quiet when Tiho arrived. Guards had escorted him through long hallways and across marble bridges. Now he stood alone at the entrance, looking at a place more beautiful than anything he had ever seen. Strange flowers grew in perfect rows. Their petals were purple and silver and gold. Small lights floated in the air like tiny stars, giving everything a soft glow. A stream of crystal water ran through the center, making gentle sounds in the silence. And there, sitting on a stone bench by the water, was Princess Lyra. She was wearing simple clothes, no silver robes, no royal jewelry, just a plain dress that covered her arms and legs. Her head was down and she did not look up when he entered. Tiho walked toward her slowly. His boots made soft sounds on the stone path. When he was close enough, he stopped and stood there. "Princess Lyra," he said. "You are the human." Her voice was quiet and tired. "I thought you would be taller." Tiho smiled a little. "I thought you would be sadder." Now she looked up. Her large dark eyes studied his face. "What makes you think I am not sad?" "Because you made a joke. Sad people do not make jokes." Lyra did not respond. She looked at him for a long moment, then turned her eyes back to the water. "Why are you here?" she asked. "What do you want from me?" "I want to see you." "Everyone wants to see me. They see me and then they leave." Tiho sat down on the bench beside her, not too close but close enough to talk without raising his voice. "They did not see you. They saw your genetics. They saw your bloodline. They saw a political alliance, but they did not see you." Lyra laughed bitterly. "You sound like my father. He says the same things." "Your father loves you. That is different." "And you, do you love me, human? Did you fall in love with a picture on a news tablet?" Tiho shook his head. "I do not know you. How can I love someone I do not know? I came here because I was curious." "Curious about what?" "About why everyone in the galaxy is so afraid of light." The air between them changed. Lyra's hands tightened on the edge of the bench. Tiho could see her body becoming tense. "You want to see it," she said. "It was not a question." "Only if you want to show me." "Everyone wants to see it. The doctors, the suitors, the merchants who write about me in their news reports. They all want to see the defect." "I do not think it is a defect." Lyra turned to face him directly. Her eyes were searching his face, looking for lies, looking for hidden motives. "You have never seen it," she said. "You do not know what you are talking about." "Then show me." They sat in silence. The floating lights drifted around them. The water sang its quiet song. Tiho waited. He did not push. He did not demand. He just waited. Finally, Lyra stood up. She walked to a small panel on a nearby pillar and pressed it. The floating lights faded away. The garden became dark, lit only by the stars above. Lyra turned to face him. Her hands trembled as she reached for the sleeves of her dress. Slowly, she rolled them up to her elbows. And then it happened. Soft blue light began to appear under her skin. It started at her wrists and traveled up her arms like rivers of glowing water. The light pulsed gently, following a rhythm that seemed connected to her heartbeat. Patterns formed and shifted, like living maps of some beautiful hidden world. Tiho stood up slowly. He walked toward her. Lyra stepped back, ready to run. "Do not come closer," she said. Her voice was shaking. "You will see how ugly it is." But Tiho did not stop. He walked until he was standing right in front of her. He looked at her glowing arms. He looked at the light dancing under her skin. And he smiled. "On my planet," he said softly, There is an ocean. When the sun goes down, the water begins to glow, the same blue as your skin. We call it the Sea of Stars. Lyra was breathing fast. Tears were forming in her eyes. You are lying. I am not. We have pictures, videos, I can show you. No one thinks this is beautiful. Everyone says it is a curse. Tiho reached out slowly. He did not touch her, but he held his hand near her glowing arm. May I? He asked. Lyra did not speak. She just nodded. Tiho gently touched her forearm. Her skin was warm. The light pulsed under his fingers like a gentle wave. It was the most amazing thing he had ever felt. This is not a curse, he said. This is a gift. The problem is not you, princess. The problem is that the galaxy does not know how to appreciate something this beautiful. Lyra could not hold back anymore. The tears spilled down her cheeks, catching the blue light and shining like tiny jewels. Why are you doing this? She whispered. What do you want from me? Tiho let go of her arm and stepped back. I do not want anything from you. I just wanted you to know that not everyone sees you as broken. You are one human, one small, short-lived human from a planet no one cares about. What does your opinion matter? Tiho smiled. Maybe it does not matter to the galaxy, but maybe it matters to you. They stood in the dark garden, surrounded by stars and silence. Lyra's skin continued to glow, but for the first time she did not try to hide it. Tell me about your ocean, she said finally, the one that glows. And Tiho told her. He talked about Earth, about the beaches where the water lit up at night, about the fireflies that danced in summer forests, about jellyfish that looked like living lanterns, about a planet that loved light in all its forms. Lyra listened, and somewhere in the middle of his stories, something changed inside her. For the first time in years, she did not feel like a mistake. They talked until the sun began to rise. When the morning light filled the garden, Lyra's glow faded away, but something else remained, something warm, something like hope. Will you come back tomorrow? She asked. Tiho nodded. If you want me to. I do. He bowed his head slightly and walked toward the exit, but before he left, he turned back one more time. Princess Lyra. Yes. You do not have to hide anymore, not from me. He left the garden. Lyra stood alone, watching the sun rise over her world. For the first time in a long time, the light did not feel like a curse. It felt like a beginning. News traveled fast in the palace. By noon, everyone knew that the princess had spent the whole night talking to a human. By evening, the entire planet was discussing it. By the next morning, the whole galaxy was laughing. A human, the young, weak, unimportant species from a small planet called Earth. The princess must be truly desperate. Emperor Valos called Tiho to the throne room. The room was enormous. Pillars of white stone rose up to a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. Guards stood along the walls, their weapons ready. Advisors whispered behind their hands. Tiho walked down the long carpet toward the throne. He did not bow as deeply as the others expected. He simply lowered his head with respect and waited. Emperor Valos looked down at him with cold eyes. The emperor was old, with pale blue skin that had grown gray with age, but his eyes were still sharp. You spent the night with my daughter, the emperor said. We talked, Your Majesty, nothing more. She wants to see you again. Tiho nodded, and I want to see her. The emperor leaned forward. Why? What is your interest in my daughter? Humanity has no stake in our empire. You gain nothing from this alliance. I am not seeking an alliance, Your Majesty. I am seeking your daughter's happiness. The throne room went silent. No one had ever said something like that before. Suitors always talked about trade routes and military agreements and genetic compatibility. No one had ever mentioned happiness. Emperor Valos studied Tiho for a long moment. Then he stood up from his throne. The galaxy already mocks my daughter. If I allow a human to court her, they will mock her even more. They will say the Veloran Empire has fallen so low that even the lowest species can reach for our princess. Tiho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. With respect, Your Majesty, the galaxy has already rejected your daughter. Their opinion is already clear. What more damage can I do? The Emperor's eyes widened slightly. No one spoke to him this way. You are bold, human. I am honest. Emperor Valos walked down the steps from his throne until he stood directly in front of Tiho. They were almost the same height. The Emperor looked into Tiho's eyes, searching for something. If you want to court my daughter, the Emperor said slowly, you must prove your worth. This is our tradition. Every suitor must complete the trial of valor. Tiho had heard about this. 3 tests designed to show strength, survival, and loyalty. Tests created for species far more powerful than humans. The Keth Prince completed the trials in 2 days, the Emperor continued. The Shar Collective sent a champion who finished in 3. Many have died trying. And if I refuse, then you leave Velora and never return. Tiho thought about Lyra. He thought about her glowing skin and her sad eyes. He thought about the smile that was starting to appear on her face when they talked. I accept, he said. The first trial was combat. They brought Tiho to an arena filled with thousands of spectators. Across from him stood a Keth warrior. The creature was twice his size, with 4 arms and skin like armor. The Keth attacked immediately. A fist the size of Tiho's head swung toward him. He dodged barely. Another fist came. He rolled away. For 5 minutes, Tiho did nothing but avoid attacks. The crowd laughed. The Keth grew frustrated. Stand and fight, little human. But Tiho kept moving. He knew he could not match the Keth's strength, so he waited, he watched, he learned the pattern of attacks. And then the Keth made a mistake. He swung too wide and lost his balance for just a moment. Tiho dove forward and struck the back of the Keth's leg. The creature stumbled. Tiho hit him again in the same spot, and again. The Keth fell to one knee. Tiho jumped onto his back and wrapped his arms around the creature's neck. He squeezed with everything he had. The Keth tried to throw him off. He slammed Tiho against the ground, against the wall, against anything he could reach. But Tiho did not let go. Humans could not match alien strength, but humans could endure pain that would break other species. Humans had evolved as persistent hunters. They never stopped. After 10 minutes, the Keth collapsed. He was still alive, but he could not continue. Tiho stood up, covered in blood and bruises. The crowd was silent. The second trial was survival. They dropped Tiho on a toxic moon with nothing but basic supplies. The air was poison. The ground was acid. Nothing could live here for long. Other species had brought advanced technology, special suits, breathing machines, protective barriers. Tiho had none of these things. But he had something else. He had the knowledge of a species that had survived ice ages and deserts and countless disasters on Earth. He found a cave and sealed the entrance with rocks and mud. He filtered water through layers of cloth and sand. He rationed his food carefully. When the poison air leaked into his cave, he breathed through wet cloth. When the acid rain fell, he hid under stone overhangs. 3 days, that was the requirement. 3 days on the toxic moon. On the 3rd day, they came to collect his body. They found him alive. The 3rd trial was loyalty. An advisor came to Tiho's room the night before the final ceremony. He carried a briefcase filled with more credits than Tiho would earn in 100 lifetimes. This is from the Keth Dominion and the Shar Collective, the advisor said. They do not want a human bonding with Veloran royalty. It sets a dangerous example. Tiho looked at the credits. And what do they want me to do? Leave, return to Earth. Forget about the princess. Take the money and live like a king for the rest of your life. Tiho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his sister Hana, struggling to keep their small ship running. He thought about the debts they owed. He thought about how easy life could be with this much money. "No," he said. The advisor blinked. "No, do you understand how much this is worth?" "I understand." "Then why refuse? You are nobody, a cargo pilot from a worthless planet. You could live in luxury forever." Tiho stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars. "Your princess has been told her whole life that she is worthless, that no one could love her, that she should hide who she is." He turned to face the advisor. "If I take this money and leave, I prove everyone right. I prove that humans are just as shallow as everyone else." "And if you stay?" "If I stay, I prove that some things are worth more than money." The advisor shook his head slowly. "You are a fool." "Maybe, but I'm a fool who keeps his promises." The next morning, Tiho stood before Emperor Valos once again. "You completed the trials," the emperor said. "You defeated a Keth warrior. You survived the toxic moon, and you refused a fortune to walk away." "Yes, your majesty." "Why, I still do not understand. What do you gain from this?" Tiho looked past the emperor to where Princess Lyra stood watching. Her eyes were wide. Her hands were clasped together tightly. "Your daughter deserves someone who sees her," Tiho said. "Not her crown, not her genetics, not her political value, just her. I want to be that person." Emperor Valos was silent for a long time. The whole throne room held its breath. Then slowly, the emperor nodded. "You have proven yourself human. You may continue to court my daughter." From across the room, Lyra smiled, and her skin began to glow, just a little, with soft blue light that looked like happiness. The day of the bonding ceremony arrived with chaos. Ambassadors from 12 star systems sent formal protests. The Keth Dominion threatened to end trade agreements. The Shar Collective called the Union an insult to galactic order. The Moth Empire sent a message calling the Veloran Empire a joke. News channels across the galaxy covered the story with disbelief. A human bonding with Veloran royalty. It was impossible. It was disgraceful. It was the end of everything proper and right. But Emperor Valos did not back down. He had watched his daughter suffer for too long. He had seen her hide in her room and cry in the darkness. And now, for the first time in years, he saw her smile. That was worth more than any alliance. The ceremony hall was filled with light. Thousands of Velorans sat in curved rows that rose up like waves. The walls were made of crystal that reflected every color of the rainbow. At the center stood a platform where the bonding would take place. Lyra wore no heavy robes today. Her dress was simple and white, leaving her arms bare. She stood on the platform and let her skin glow freely for all to see. Blue light pulsed along her arms and neck, moving like gentle rivers. The crowd whispered. Some looked away. Others stared with open mouths. No one had ever seen her like this. No one had ever seen her without shame. Tiho walked down the long path toward her. He wore a simple earth suit, black and clean. He had no royal decorations, no medals, no marks of power. But he walked with his head high. When he reached the platform, he took Lyra's glowing hand in his own. The blue light wrapped around his fingers like a warm embrace. Emperor Valos stood before them. His voice echoed through the hall. "We gather today to witness a bonding between Princess Lyra of the Veloran Empire and Kang Tiho of Earth. This union joins two worlds, two species, and two hearts." The emperor paused. He looked at the crowd, at the camera drones recording everything for the galaxy to see. "Some say this union is wrong. They say humans are too young, too weak, too unimportant." He turned to look at Tiho. "But this human completed trials that have killed warriors from older species. He refused wealth that would have bought a kingdom. He chose my daughter when the entire galaxy rejected her." Emperor Valos's voice grew stronger. "That is not weakness. That is strength of a different kind. The kind of strength that builds bridges instead of walls. the kind of strength that finds beauty where others see defects. He joined their hands together and wrapped a silver cord around their wrists. By the traditions of our people, I declare this bonding complete. May your lives be long and your light never fade. The crowd was silent for a moment. Then slowly someone began to clap, then another, then another. Soon the hall was filled with applause. Tiho turned to Lyra. Tears were streaming down her face, catching the blue glow and shining like stars. "They are cheering," she whispered. "They are actually cheering." "Of course they are," Tiho said. "They finally see what I saw all along." "What is that?" "A princess who carries starlight in her skin." Lyra laughed through her tears, and for the first time she let her glow shine brighter than ever before. The whole hall was filled with soft blue light, like standing inside a peaceful ocean. Outside the palace, the galaxy watched. On the Keth homeworld, the Dominion leaders argued about how to respond. Some wanted war. Others wanted to pretend this had never happened. In the end, they did nothing. The Veloran Empire was too powerful to challenge over wounded pride. On the Shar collective worlds, the connected minds debated endlessly. How could a lesser species win where they had failed? What did this mean for the natural order? They found no answers, only more questions. On the Moth Empire planets, the leaders stopped laughing. The joke had become something else, something they did not understand. And on Earth, people celebrated. The story spread across every colony and station and ship. A human cargo pilot had won the heart of an alien princess, not through wealth or power or genetic superiority, through kindness, through patience, through seeing beauty where no one else could. For the first time, humans across the galaxy walked a little taller. Years passed. The Veloran-human alliance grew stronger with each passing season. Trade routes expanded. Technologies were shared. Ideas flowed between worlds that had never spoken before. Other species began to notice. They saw how humans worked with Velorans, not as masters or servants, but as equals. They saw how human doctors treated patients that other species called hopeless. They saw how human engineers solved problems by thinking differently instead of thinking bigger. Slowly, attitudes began to change. The first Shar ambassador requested a human advisor. The Moth Empire began allowing human merchants in their markets. Even the proud Keth Dominion started to see value in the small, weak, unimportant species from Earth. Because humans did not measure worth by power alone, they measured it by heart. In the palace on Velora, Lyra and Tiho built a life together. They faced challenges. They made mistakes. They argued and made up and grew together like any couple in the universe. But every night, when the world was quiet and they were alone, the same ritual happened. Lyra would dim the lights in their chamber. She would lie beside Tiho and let her skin begin to glow. The blue light would fill the room, turning everything into a gentle dream. "Tell me about the ocean," she would say. And Tiho would tell her about the glowing waters of Earth, about the fireflies dancing in summer darkness, about a species that had always loved light and never stopped reaching for the stars. Sometimes their daughter would run into the room. She had inherited her mother's glow, and her skin lit up with blue patterns whenever she was happy. "Look, father," she would say, holding up her shining arms, "I'm like the ocean tonight." And Tiho would smile and hold his family close. Years ago, the galaxy had called Lyra defective, broken, cursed. They had rejected her without even trying to understand her. But one human had looked at her differently. One human had seen beauty instead of disease. One human had chosen her when everyone else walked away. And that had changed everything. The old species of the galaxy still talked about power and genetics and proper order, but a new generation was learning a different lesson. They were learning that strength could be found in kindness, that beauty could be found in difference, that the smallest species could sometimes see the biggest truths. On the anniversary of their bonding, Ambassadors came from across the stars to celebrate. Tiho stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at ships from 100 worlds. Lyra came to stand beside him. Her skin glowed softly in the evening light. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I am thinking about the day we met, how you were afraid to show me your light." Lyra smiled. "I was so sure you would be like all the others. I was so sure you would run away." "But I did not." "No, you did not." She took his hand and held it tight. "You know," she said, "the galaxy still does not fully understand humans. They see your short lives and your small bodies and your limited technology. They think you are less. Let them think what they want. But you are not less. You are different, and sometimes different is exactly what the universe needs." Tiho pulled her close. Below them the city stretched out in lines of light. Above them the stars burned eternal. "I am just a cargo pilot from Earth," he said quietly. "I still do not understand how I ended up here." Lyra laughed and pressed her glowing cheek against his shoulder. "You ended up here because you saw me," she whispered. "Really saw me, when nobody else could." That was true. That had always been true, and as long as Tiho lived he would never stop seeing her. The princess who carried starlight in her skin. His princess. His home among the stars.